Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's such an honor to be with you and to be here with Brightside. As you mentioned, I'm Randi Braun. I'm the author of Something Major, the new playbook for women at work. And I want to tell you a little bit about what inspired me to write this book. So, in deep COVID, I was on the phone with a woman and she said to me, I just have no desire. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I was in the mood. And she wasn't talking about that thing. I see some eyebrows raised for those of you who are watching this on the video. She was talking about work and she was talking about a career that she once was passionate about, a career where she had done everything right. She had played by every rule she was told to play. And at this apex moment in her career, all she was left with was, frankly, a bad case of low work libido. And unfortunately, Elizabeth, there's just no little blue pill for that. So it got me curious. Why were so many women doing everything right and still feeling like, frankly, something was wrong? And that's why I decided to write my book, Something Major, the new playbook for women at work. I'm proud to tell you, Elizabeth, this is one of the few books by women, for women, that has ever cracked the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And I think the reason for that is that women are tired of a conversation that only leaves room for talking about when we're flourishing at our best or when we're burnt out at our worst. When so many of us are having that same moment of doing everything right and feeling like something is wrong. And so, Elizabeth, my book talks about 10 core competencies. I know that you yourself have read it, that I want women to feel inspired to write a new playbook on. Importantly, it's not about writing the rules that I lay out for you. It's about writing your own new rules so that you can figure out how you want to thrive at work on your own terms. So it's everything from how we crack the confidence code on our self-doubt to how we get in touch with our intuition, which is something that, the women listening here can probably relate to. We've been taught and socialized to crank the volume down on that, so that we can do things like set the goals that are really going to propel us forward, so that we can rebound when the plan blows up. Because if you are an ambitious woman who is stretching yourself and putting yourself out there, the plan will blow up one day. And we need to let that be a mess that we clean up, not an existential end to our careers. I wrote this book because women need to redefine what being productive looks like. We are so trapped in a cycle of performing our productivity, showing up to the Zoom meeting for the sake of being there, being afraid to turn that little green light of availability off on our Slack or our Teams. And what we need to do is pivot to understand, wait, how can I be impactful? Because being obsessed with productivity doesn't necessarily make us impactful leaders. My book talks about 16 things that I forbid all women to say at work. 16 things. One of which is saying sorry when we really mean hello, excuse me, thank you for waiting. So many times we are so afraid of what other people are going to think of us that we've been socialized, but that's our automatic response. So that's just one of the 16 things that I forbid you to say at work. Let's agree that we can say sorry for when we have hurt somebody, offended somebody, or embarrassed somebody. Otherwise, I hope every woman listening to this podcast will eliminate it from her vocabulary unless it is a true apology. And then finally, one thing I'll call out for the book that I think is so important as we think about what summer can be, as we think about this time to relax. Maybe you're going to take this book to the beach, as Elizabeth has put it on her beach read list for the summer, is really unpacking the 5 self-care myths that high-performing women tell ourselves that keep us at distance from our self-care. And I'm going to end with just sharing a personal story and a tip. This is really personal to me. I share a lot about my own experiences in this book, in addition to the incredible stories of the women who have trusted me with their goals and their dreams over the years as their coach. But I learned firsthand a few years ago how life or death getting your self-care can be. It was broad daylight in June 2020. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. I thought I had my exhaustion under control, but I was honestly gaslighting myself on how exhausted I was. When I fell asleep driving my car in broad daylight through one of the busiest intersections in Washington, D.C. I crossed 6 lanes of traffic, including a highway on-ramp, and came to a screeching halt in front of a pedestrian. To say that I was hysterical was a complete understatement. And I don't normally like to use that word because it has all sorts of very patriarchal Victorian connotations to it, but I really was hysterical. In that moment, it didn't just teach me that, our self-care and our well-being might be the only life or death thing we're dealing with at work unless we're an actual physician, but it got me really curious about like what stories was I telling myself that was keeping me at distance from self-care and keeping me entrapped in my exhaustion? And what stories were other women telling themselves? And so I tell 5 of those self-care myths, those stories I've heard and archetyped over the years in the book. And I'll leave you with 2 as I wrap up this conversation about my book, Something Major, the new playbook for women at work. Number 1 is we fall into this myth of I should be grateful. And Elizabeth, that's the myth that I was trapped in that day. I was telling myself a story that, oh, I should just be grateful that my business is okay, my family is healthy when so many people are suffering in this pandemic. I got to push through. And that's a dangerous, dangerous lie. Because when we bully ourselves with our gratitude, we don't actually get to enjoy the life we're so grateful for. So I just want to remind everyone that you can be stressed and blessed. The last self-care myth I want to leave you with is this myth that I hear a lot of. I should, pardon me, my maintenance is my self-care. And often I hear women come to me in my coaching practice and they say to me, Randy, I don't know why I'm so stressed out because when I go to Target and I have the time to go get toilet paper and just listen to my favorite podcast and take my work email off the phone and leave my kids at home, that's my self-care, but I'm still stressed out. And I just want to remind everyone Elizabeth has a final point. Maintenance is not self-care. If you can function in a way that is enjoyable to you, like listening to your favorite podcast when you fold laundry like I do, phenomenal. It's not flourishing. And saying that your maintenance is self-care is like getting in your car on one of those 100-degree summer days and saying, oh, I'm going to treat myself to air conditioning today. That is not a treat yourself moment. That is literally not dying from heat stroke. So I hope that the women and the men who pick up this book, Something Major, the new playbook for women at work this summer, will walk away with one thing. They will walk away feeling inspired to raise the bar in their life from not dying of heat stroke to real flourishing. So Elizabeth, thank you for inviting me to talk about Something Major, the new playbook for women at work. You can purchase your copy on Amazon or at any independent bookseller. Oh, Elizabeth, I believe you're speaking and introducing the next author, but we can't hear you.
All right. So thank you for watching Brightside Global Trade. We were just on with Randi and her fabulous book. I think book clubs, definitely when you're doing your retreats or corporate retreats or training, I think this is a must for any women at work. So thank you for watching and please subscribe. We are delighted to have you here. Okay.